Welcome back to another video walkthrough. My name is Lisa. I'm a survivor turned author, caseworker, advocate, and educator, sharing from my lived experience and professional casework practice to empower other survivors to lead their own survival, recovery, and healing journey. It is such a great thing to be connected to a caseworker and a support service when you first leave a relationship in which you were abused and or controlled, but it can be really overwhelming to know what to do next or to find the supports that you need or figure out what you do need. There can also be waiting lists. So this is the information that I give to clients as a caseworker, and also information that I used myself when I escaped both relationships of abuse that I've been in. So, disclaimer, this is not legal, financial, or any other kind of personalized advice. I really do encourage you to seek your own personal advice based on your personal circumstances and the rules, regulations, and legislation of the area you live in. And as always, look after yourself. You do not need permission to take a break, to go and take a breath, or to look after you. So this is a resource pamphlet, I guess, booklet that I've put together. It is domestic and family violence information in the Shoalhaven, New South Wales, Australia. That's the region I'm in. That's the particular, I guess, support services and information that I'm sharing today. However, if one of these or all of them may support you along your own journey, then absolutely search what's available in your state. It may be slightly different names and different processes, but you'll get the general idea of what may be out there for you. Firstly, your safety. If you need help immediately, if your safety's at risk, if your AVO is being breached, call 000. I'm in Australia, so obviously that is your emergency number for your area. You may or may not have an apprehended domestic violence order. It may also be called something else in the area that you are in. There's keep a copy of your ADVO and know what your conditions are, know what they mean. If any of the conditions are breached, document it, report to police. If you don't understand what the conditions mean, then please get legal advice, see a caseworker, go to the police station and ask, know what your situation is. So if you need to report domestic violence, you can visit the Nowra police station. The address and phone number are there. Obviously, your police station. Nowra, for me, has a domestic violence liaison officer. I'm also nearby the Bay and Basin police station, but they do not have a domestic violence liaison officer or DVLO that sits there permanently. Nowra does. Nowra Police Station also have access to the Women's Domestic Violence Court Advocacy Service, so WDV CAS. You can go and speak to the girls at WDV CAS if you would like more information on whether you can apply for an AVO, because you do need to meet evidence, and there are some criteria around being immediately at threat and having some evidence that you are at risk of harm from your partner or ex-partner. So the girls can help you to determine whether you may be eligible, what you might need to gather, what information you need, and they can support you to make a statement to police. They can also support you through the court process, including calling you before court, supporting you at court, or calling you after with the outcome and what that means, and if it's being heard again, or whatever information around that. So you may not have any or all of this information, and that's fine, because if it's not your job, you don't know, and that's how a caseworker can help. So a caseworker can support with safety planning, advocacy, education around domestic violence, what's out there, the services available, knowledge and referrals to relevant services that you might need, like housing, financial assistance, counselling, etc. Our local, so in Nowra, I've got SASSY number and a website, and also Waminda, which is an Indigenous service. Again, you can ring 1-800-RESPECT, or 1-800 full stop if you're in Australia, and they can give you the contact details for your local services. You can either call or email or go onto their website to refer yourself. You don't need somebody else to refer you. You can ring up and say, I would like to make an appointment, or I would like to do an intake. I would like to be connected to a caseworker because I'm a victim of domestic violence and I need support with what to do next. So there is financial assistance available because, let's be real, leaving a relationship costs money. Doing anything in this world costs money, but it can be very expensive to either leave the home that you're in or lose the second income out of the relationship that you have been relying on to pay bills. So Centrelink do have a $500 crisis payment. You may be eligible if you've experienced domestic or family violence. If you receive a Centrelink payment and your living situation has changed within the last 7 days, you must apply within 7 days of either you leaving the home that you shared with the person using violence or the person using violence has left the home. So you can apply online through your MyGov and Centrelink account, or go into Centrelink and ask to speak to a social worker. You may need to make an appointment, but I would always suggest to ask for a social worker and not just somebody on the desk, because the social workers have a lot more understanding and information knowledge around domestic violence and how that's going to impact you. You may be eligible for what's now called the Leaving Violence Payment. It was previously known as the Escaping Violence Payment. If you've left a relationship in which you've experienced abuse and your living arrangements have changed in the last 12 weeks, or you have a safe plan to leave, or you need help to develop a plan to leave, you can apply for the Leaving Violence Payment, and they can also help with some other information. So it's up to $1,500 into your bank for the purposes of helping with bond, rent, replacing furniture, appliances, or, just to help out, and up to $3,655 in goods and services. So again, that's around appliances, clothing, toiletries, removalists. It's there to help you reestablish and or set up a new living arrangement if you have left that relationship of abuse and you need help to start rebuilding. So for more info and to check eligibility, you can go to the leavingviolenceprogram.org.au or call them Monday to Friday for more information. So that's immediately. Housing is always the big, one. So if you remain in the home and the person using violence has been removed, you may be eligible for Staying Home Leaving Violence, the program, if it is available in your area. So you can either ring 1-800-RESPECT, or you can do a bit of a Google search as to who offers Staying Home Leaving Violence in New South Wales or a similar program in your area. So generally, they can come in, do a safety audit of your home. They can help with repairs and upgrades which are necessary to protect you in your home. Security cameras, sensor lights, locks. I had my window locks installed when I used that program after my AVO was granted for my ex-husband. So if you do not have somewhere to sleep tonight, my local housing, public community social housing, is Southern Cross Housing. It's in Nowra. You can also contact SASSY and Southern Youth and Family Services for temporary and emergency accommodation. After hours, call Link to Home, and that's actually a New South Wales number. So if you are outside of the Shoalhaven, or you're in the Shoalhaven and it's after hours, call Link to Home on that number to get access to emergency accommodation. It may be a motel, it may be a refuge, it may be some sort of, share arrangement. But if you have nowhere safe to sleep tonight, you need somewhere safe to be. And going into a refuge or temporary emergency accommodation allows you access to caseworkers or support workers who can help you come up with case plans and link you into other services that are going to be able to help you. So, social, community, and public housing. Generally, if you want to apply for public housing, you need to apply online or by calling the Housing Contact Centre. Yes, it can take many years on a wait list. If you have a need like domestic violence, you've experienced domestic violence, if you're homeless, if you have children who are at risk, if you have special needs, if you've got a disability, you may be eligible for priority housing to go onto the priority housing wait list. To go onto priority, you would need to get a number of support letters from maybe your doctor, from a caseworker, from any practitioners that you see, any therapists, any sort of support person. Get them to write a support letter. You can also apply for affordable housing, which is renting, but it's for income earners between a certain amount. So you can apply for affordable housing through Southern Cross Housing online. Private rental assistance. So if you are needing to leave the home that you're in, or you just don't feel safe staying in there, again, through the Housing Contact Centre, this is New South Wales wide, you may be eligible for what's called the Rent Choice Start Safely. It's a private rental subsidy for up to 3 years to help people escaping domestic or family violence to secure your own private rental accommodation. The private rental subsidy helps out with the rent each week for the full sort of amount, not the full rent, but their full subsidy for 12 months and less after that, because they want you to be able to be independent and be able to afford your own rent. But that's absolutely a hand up to help. The Housing Contact Centre, so New South Wales Public Housing, also offer a Rent Start bond loan, which is an interest-free loan to pay your bond, which you will repay fortnightly out of your, if you get a Centrelink payment or a wage, it just comes out of that. If you haven't rented before, if you have a poor rental history, if you have left a previous home and there were, damages that weren't yours, it is understandable that landlords or agents, real estates might be a little bit hesitant. So the Housing Contact Centre also offer a bond extra, which allows up to $1,500 for the real estate to they can access it if there's any additional rental arrears or property damage at the end of a tenancy. It just makes your application look a little bit more attractive if they can access not only your bond, but an extra bond. It gives a little bit of peace of mind. So Housing Contact Centre or dcj.newsouthwales.gov.au for more information. You may be able to get rent assistance from Centrelink, so check in with that. If you own the home, if you have a mortgage, I would absolutely recommend contacting the lender to give them an update, because they might be able to reduce your payments for a period of time or a pause. They may have a domestic and family violence sector policy within their organisation where they can offer other kinds of support as well. Sometimes you just need to ask and just see what's out there. There'd be other stuff that I don't know of or new things, so absolutely look into that. Other things that may be available are victim services. So in New South Wales, if you've been the victim of an act of violence and you've suffered a physical injury and or psychological harm, you may be eligible to make a claim to victim services. So victim services offer 22 hours of counselling by an approved counsellor that they have approved. There is a link that you need to find someone through. So some of them have wait times. But when you do book in with them, tell them once you receive your approval for 22 hours of victim services counselling, let them know that you've got that approval there. You may also be eligible for the immediate needs support package, which is a payment of up to $5,000 for either a security package, which is cameras, changing locks, alarms, or if you have to relocate without your belongings and you need to replace appliances, furniture, clothing, toiletries, etc. I do always recommend that you keep receipts, because if you do need to apply again, they will ask you to produce receipts from the first time you claimed. I have actually created a walkthrough video of the victim services application for counselling, immediate needs support package, and the recognition payment. It's also on in YouTube if you would like to see the video walkthrough of that. Along with that application, you can also apply for a recognition payment, which is a compensation payment if you've suffered from physical and or a psychological injury. Once you've seen the counsellor a number of times, you can ask them to fill in a certificate of injury, or you can provide hospital discharge papers, anything that sort of is that evidence that you have suffered a physical and or psychological injury. And then victim services will assess your recognition payment. There are different levels. So 1,500 is for general domestic and family violence. For the next one up, it is a $5,000 payment. And for the next level up, which is when there's weapons involved and sexual assault, you may be eligible for $10,000 if you meet their criteria. Other financial support that may be available to you is check with Centrelink to make sure that you are receiving the correct payments and rate of payments. Especially if you've gone from partnered to single, you may be eligible for different payments or for some extra support. You are eligible for child support, and you can apply at the child support website. However, if you have an AVO and you would like to apply for an exemption for child support, speak to the social worker there. You may need a support letter from a caseworker to verify your circumstances or provide proof of your ADVO. But I did, because I did claim the exemption, because I just did not want another thing to have to worry about him reacting to or getting angry at me for. So there is that option there. Financial counselling. I cannot recommend this one enough. Not only can they help with budgeting and financial assistance, making sure you're eligible for that you're receiving correct payments, they know where you can apply for help. If you have any debts due to financial abuse, if your ex-partner applied for loans in your name, if they made you sign for loans, if that you took out a loan in your name for like a vehicle that they're using, speak to a financial counselor. They're worth their weight in gold. I have personally used a financial counselor to help me with a debt from a previous relationship, and I have had clients referred there that have had some really great results. There is a no interest loan scheme, NILS, available in New South Wales, which is an interest free loan to buy appliances. So you can go to the Good Shepherd website, or there may be somewhere in your local area who can help you apply, or who does provide the NILS scheme. It also can help with bond, with vehicle repair and registration. So check into that as well. There are also a number of places that are able to offer emergency relief. So for me, in my area, Mission Australia, Anglicare, the Salvation Army, there's Salt Care, there's, a number of different organisations and services. You can generally do a Google search to check Ask Izzy, for example, for local services that can offer emergency relief in the way of groceries, food, maybe a Woolies gift card. Just ask, especially if you're struggling. I know we can get really, we don't want to ask for help, but this is a time where you do need help. It really is helpful. So other support, as mentioned, you can call 1-800-RESPECT or 1-800-FULL-STOP for different support, advice, referrals in relation to domestic violence. Check what support services are in your area. Please, please, please get legal advice. Whether you are initiating family law court, whether you have started mediation or you don't know anything about it, I refer to South Coast and Country Community Law, which was previously known as Shoal Coast, and the Aboriginal Legal Service in Nowra in the Shoalhaven, because you legal advice is just, it is so important to speak to somebody qualified about your own personal circumstances and what they recommend. Cannot suggest this enough. The Child Protection Helpline in New South Wales is 132 111 if you believe a child or young person is at risk of harm from abuse, neglect, and or domestic violence. This can be your own child, and even if you think they're at risk of harm from one of their own family members or their other parent, you can make a report or, yeah, speak to the Child Protection Helpline for more advice. For 24/7 crisis sexual assault support, there is a number you can call. Lifeline, there is a number you can call. If you need mental health support, referrals to your local community mental health service, you can call that number as well. I really do recommend counselling. I know it can feel really scary, overwhelming to start counselling, but it really is important as well. So there are free confidential counselling services out there through DVF SAS, the Shoalhaven Women's Health Centre. I have accessed free counselling or counselling on a gold coin donation from women's health centres. You may be able to find somewhere near you, but it can be really helpful to validate your experience, to get strategies, to think outside the box, to get a different perspective, to hear that it wasn't your fault. Yeah, it's definitely recommend that. Drug and alcohol counselling. So the Shoalhaven Drug and Alcohol Service you can refer yourself to as well, because there is no judgment from my part, from where I sit, but it can be a really normal human response to pain and hurt and despair to want to numb your pain. So if you feel like you have an issue with drugs and or alcohol, please just reach out to somebody for some help with that. It's not about just cutting everything off. It's coming up with a plan which is about harm minimization to just give you some extra support. Groceries, because we all know how expensive those are at the moment. Locally for me, there is the Salt Store, Hope Centre, the Nowra Food Store, so it's a community co-op. Anglicare offer food and financial assistance as well. There's a community pantry in one of the churches in Nowra and at Bomaderry. So just search your area, or again, speak to a support service and ask what they recommend, who they use, who they know of, because there is help out there. And sometimes it's not as easy to find. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I have this on a Google Doc. I'm going to link it into the comments. Please, if you would like to download or open it, make a copy for yourself or just access the link, and you can come back to this if you need any of this support. Obviously, this is in the Shoalhaven, New South Wales, but if you have a look in your area, you may find something similar. You may find something else that you didn't know existed. But it is, yeah, that's the information that I go through as a caseworker. So if you're finding big waiting lists, if you're not sure what you're eligible for, what's out there, then reach out to someone and see what's there, because it can be all very confusing and overwhelming. And just remember that domestic violence is not your fault, that safety is your right, and that none of it is easy, but I don't regret leaving my relationship of abuse. There was a healing and recovery journey. There's still a healing and recovery journey, but it is possible.